Hello, everyone. We are Deep Dish Developers, and we're here today to present to you our 143rd Street Extension project. For our agenda, we'll start off with leadership team roles and introductions, followed by the construction management and coordination. Then we'll have construction staging and scheduling, and then finally we'll end it off with our estimating and our costs. Our roles. I'm Martin Donahue. I am the project manager for this project. I'm a graduate with a BS in Civil Engineering from Florida State University, and I have 35 years of experience in the workforce.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leah Portillo. I'm the project engineer for this project. I have my PE license in the state of Illinois, and I have 25 years of experience in the heavy civil industry in the area.
Hi, my name is Steven Sargent. I am the site safety officer. I have 15 years of work experience. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering at Stevens Institute of Technology.
Hello, I am Hannah Nation, and I have 13 years of work experience. I'm going to be the lead estimator for this project, and I have my Bachelor's of Science from Florida Atlantic University in Civil Engineering.
Good afternoon, I'm Scarlett Quiroz. I'm the lead scheduler for this project. I have a bachelor's in civil engineering from the University of Central Florida, and I have 11 years of experience in this field.
Hi, my name is Christopher Thomas Cafaro. I have a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from Rutgers University and 6 years of work experience as a public communications coordinator.
As mentioned before, we are extending 143rd Street between Naperville and Illinois Interstate 126. We'll be including an MSC wall of construction for our roadway paving that we're going to be, again, connecting those two roadways. And then we'll have proposed storm drainage as well as erosion control, because we do have Fletcher Lake bordering our, proposed pavement. Here we have an aerial imagery with a blue shape. This shape identifies our limit of disturbance where all of our proposed work will be lying. Again, you see how we have Illinois State 126, and then the west side, we have Naperville Road. This is just another imaging with the shape just in the plan view and showing some parcels for our project. Here's a 3D rendering modeling showing the existing and then the proposed structures afterwards. We have the road going straight through along the roadway, and we have the MSC wall keeping that roadway up there so we don't have anything spill into the waterway. Some proposed utilities, and we have some side views here showing you what the MSC wall will actually look like with the height. Now we'll be going into construction, management, and coordination. We plan to be in constant contact with IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation, to make sure all standards and specifications are followed, as well as being in contact with local representatives on federal, state, and local levels, just so all laws and regulations are followed. We're going to be in contact with the design engineers for each of the disciplines because we have quite the amount. We'll also be narrowing down, or we did narrow down our subcontractors, and we estimated our quantities far in advance so that way throughout our schedule it won't become a problem for us. And then we'll be doing weekly check-ins to make sure activities are completed according to our set schedule.
Thank you, Martin. Now we're moving into the risk. So for the sake of this presentation, we have identified 3 of the we thought was the most severe risk. And this was decided using a scale of likelihood versus severity. And these were put on a quantitative scale. This was multiplied, and then it was given a rating. And based on the rating, we were able to assign strategies. We noticed throughout the risk, there was multiple strategies, but the common one was a mitigation, which is kind of just working around it, or having a strategy of avoidance, where we try our best to avoid this. Yeah, and going on to the status and contingencies, this kind of just shows what we kind of have planned based on the risk. For example, one we had to focus on was the unexpected weather. Now we know for the state of Illinois, it has very high snow and hazardous weather conditions, especially during the winter time. So we kind of decided to close off working times from November to April. We'll talk more about this in the schedule. And also with risk, we had to establish some contingencies because with risk, you never know when there might be additional costs, and you will see this in the estimate. Moving on. we as deep dish developers think health, safety, and environmental impact plays an important role. That is why every worker that's on site will need to be OSHA certified and have personal protective equipment. In addition, every day on the job site, there will be a daily job hazard analysis where they essentially identify the work site, make sure it's safe for the workers, and there will be toolbox tips going into the day, so they'll identify this. Also, additionally, there was environmental compliance. The stormwater pollution prevention plan is something we implemented. There's a nearby water that is around the construction, and we thought that we needed erosion control, such as a silk fence and other methods to kind of mitigate anything from falling into the water or polluting the water or affecting the project. And for this, there will be weekly inspections and rainfall response, so we can effectively go about that. Additionally, there's an emergency response. You never know when a risk may happen, so that way there's always an emergency response kit nearby, and site safety officers will come in and do check-ins to confirm this. And lastly, the job site safety approach. This is essentially control access site, so anybody coming in, coming out, it has to be recorded using badge logs, and it must be a clearly marked out muster point, so in case of an emergency, everyone has somewhere to meet.
So moving on into our quality assurance and quality control. At Deep Dish Developers, delivering a top quality project and product overall is a priority. For that reason, all of our both self-performed and subcontracted work is going to be laid out following ASTM and IDOT standards. We're going to have our quality assurance manager lay out a plan detailing all the inspections and testing and tolerances that we're going to have for this project, and we're going to keep track of these using Procore to make sure that our process is transparent and that we're being strict with our control. We're also going to have a QC manager on site that's going to perform testing for concrete slump strength, the density of our asphalt, and the compaction of our aggregate. In terms of execution, we're going to use Procore and Revisto for easier visualization too. And for tracking, we're going to have a non-conformance log reviewed for our subcontractor performed work. And we're going to tie our payments to the verification of quality control of the work they perform.
Thank you, Leah. We have identified several stakeholders in our LOD and the adjacent properties, including the Village of Plainfield, and our LOD is inside the unincorporated territories of Will County, Illinois. So we plan on holding every month, town halls with the public of both the Village of Plainfield and Will County. Additionally, there are several adjacent properties, including the Gill and Bass Recreation Club, which have voiced environmental concerns, so we plan on holding monthly meetings with them as well. Additionally, there's also St. Mary Immaculate Cemetery to the southwest of our LOD, which we are also in touch with. We also plan on reaching out and meeting with bi-monthly. And there is also Commonwealth Edison, the local utility company, runs transmission lines to the south of our LOD along the length of it, and we plan on coordinating with them weekly and in case of any emergencies falling through as soon as possible. Additionally, we plan on mailing out any updates to our construction stages 72 hours prior to the residents of the neighboring community, which primarily the residents of Cooper Road and also Millrace Village Suburban Development. And we also plan on reaching out to the Illinois Department of Transportation and the U.S. Federal Highway Administration to set up PCMS signs in case there's any disruptions to traffic flow in the area, and also that Will County and neighboring Kendall County inform us of any construction going on, and per any construction that is going on, we will reach out to the contractors and meet on a weekly basis to coordinate. Here's a breakdown of our funding. About 10% of it is from the Village of Plainfield. The remainder is mostly federal grants, either through unsecured grants about 30%, and the remaining are secured from the Illinois Cargo Freight Initiative, the Will County Government League, and the Infrastructure for Rebuilding America. We also have a respect for mental health awareness in our company. So we plan on implementing 4 policies to improve our coworkers and subcontractors' mental health. That includes clearly defined job site expectations, clearly defined work metrics too. So if someone's doing a good job and like have met all the requirements, that they get a priority for getting a promotion. Also randomized health screenings every season of work, and also seasonal mental health information sessions.
Moving on to the technical approach that we took for the project, starting with the civil aspect. Our utility coordinator is going to be in close contact with the village and the ComEd that manages the area. We're going to send weekly email updates and 72-hour notices of any utility work happening. The tie-ins of the utility to the existing structure will happen during off-peak hours to avoid congestions and any coordination issues. And to control erosion, we're going to install silt fences and inlet filters. Moving on to structures, we will stage our MSC wall build by first going on with our excavation process and installing our leveling pads, and then bringing in our precast panels for those MSC walls. And we're gonna try to do this with early procurement so we can stay on schedule. This leads us to the next phase of our presentation, construction staging and scheduling. For the staging and sequencing, our main decisions were focused around efficiency and minimizing the impact in the floodplain around the area. We want to make sure that all the equipment and storage that we have in the area will be located to not impact the water bodies that we have around, and not be in the way of active zone areas, active work zone areas. The main pieces of equipment that we're going to be using for this project are excavators. For the soil digging, we're going to use rollers for compactions and cranes to put in our MSC walls. For coordination, we're going to use just-in-time delivery for the MSC panels, the hot asphalt, and our concrete. And one big item that we have to mention is that for our snow contingency plan, where, as Stephen mentioned already, we're planning to pause work from mid-November to early March. And this is going to help our scheduling, as it's going to be later mentioned.
To follow up what Leah said, we're using the project schedule. We're using the critical path method to identify activities that have zero flow, meaning that if these activities were to be delayed, it would delay the overall project. For these projects, the critical path would be drainage, sub-base, and roadway concrete. Also, to stay on track of the substantial completion, we are scheduling work concurrently, where possible, of course. One example of this would be that erosion control will be done alongside mobilization. One more thing that we're doing is that we're phasing common fill and grading at the same time. It will begin at the same time, or it will begin in certain zones as excavation finishes in other zones. This is done to maximize efficiency. And lastly, we are ordering erosion control materials right after we get the anticipated award, just to account for long lead times and avoid any early schedule delays. Some key milestones that we have in this contract is, as stated in the RFP, our contract award will be July 29 of this year. The notice to proceed will be less than a month after that, August 19, and we will start earthwork and drainage early September of the year. As mentioned before, we are pausing from late November all the way until late March, maybe early April. This is due to severe weather, of course, here in the city. So we would finish drainage and utilities by September 26 or late September of the following year. meaning that we will start the roadway concrete and paving by late October, and finally having a substantial completion date by Christmas time. So consider it a little gift, maybe, with a final completion of the end of the year, of course.
Now we're going to go into our estimating costs. This slide here includes a few graphics that help explain our selection process for our subcontractors. We're highlighting 2 DBE certified companies, or subcontractors, one being an emerging small business enterprise and another being a women-based enterprise. I just want to highlight that we make sure that our selected quotes at the end were all cost efficient for our project. We wanted to create a tight budget and not really go over or spend too much money on anything. In this picture of the deep dish pizza, hence the name, we're emphasizing that these are all Chicago-owned subcontractors, as our company is Chicago-based. We just want to keep the Chicago love going forth.
All right, thank you, Martin. So, of course, all of this won't be possible without looking at our cost estimate. So, as you can see, some smaller sections include the contingency costs, the mobilization and demobilization costs, which all land between 4% and 5%. And then I'd like you to take a look at the earthwork. That's going to be around 36% of our costs, and that includes things like excavation, different types of fill. And then if you look over at road construction, that's also a big portion of our project. So that's going to be about 27% of our costs, and that's going to include things like bike lanes, your hot mix asphalt, and guardrails and things like that as well. So as mentioned by Martin, some of our work will be sent to subcontractors, but some of it will also be self-performed. So here you can see the majority of our earthwork and our MSE wall work is going to be self-performed. In this chart, you can see the bid items, so that's the work that we'll be doing. From there, I took it into RS means code numbers, and that's to be found in the price book. And from there, we quantified each piece of the design plan sent to us by the design engineer. And those quantities were then taken with the original unit price, which factors in things like labor costs, machinery costs, and material costs, as well as the overhead costs. And as you can see on the right, those are the final totals. So here's more of our opinion of a cost. Like I said, earthwork is a large portion and mostly self-performed. The MSE walls is all self-performed. A smaller portion, around 11% of our costs. And the roadway construction and paving, that's all subcontractor quotes, and that'll land at about 27%. As you can see, there's storm drainage. So that was, those quantities were tallied based on the drainage schedule. So the structure numbers were tallied, and the reinforced concrete pipe quantities as well, those lengths were taken off for each respective diameter size. So those on the right are our final totals for storm drain. And then for erosion control, like my colleague said, we're implementing a silt fence, a silt curtain, as well as some inlet filters. And so that's to prevent erosion and sediment from getting into the local waterway. So that's also subcontractor quotes. As you can see, everything on the right is the subcontractor information that we chose, which we, like Martin said, we chose based off of a matrix. And as given, we were given addendums from the owner of the project, and those amounted to our additional accrued cost. This includes a fishing tournament that we are sponsoring in part of the community. And then soil compaction gauge testing was needed to be done as a part of our geotechnical ground improvement. Then temporary access road contracts needed to be acquired, and striping was done, and those were both about $60,000 and $40,000 in total.
Thank you, Hanny. Thank you for the rest of the team putting this proposal together, and thank you for listening to us present to you today. Are there any questions? GB percentage? DBE percentage? Unfortunately, our DBE percentage did not meet 20%. We tried to, but in doing so, our cost for the entire project went a little high. So I think we're close to 15 at most for our DB percentage and our subcontractor costs. Correct.
In your schedule, you have the pause over the winter. What happens if we have one of those years where you have a really good winter and it doesn't snow or it doesn't snow a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we can only foresee the climate in the area, but it's included in the contingency, your 7-day forecast weather. So there's plenty of space to be open to work in those unforeseen circumstances, because it is a good thing if we have a good winter for sure. But it would be added to the, I guess, final budget then if we would need any extra measurements to ensure safety during those good winters.
Related to that, you identified your substantial completion date as Christmas 2026.
Yes.
The RFP required that substantial completion be no later than September 30th. What is your justification for why we should push for completion?
Just like I said, severe weather. Like my Steven said, or risk manager, safety is the main thing. There will be over 12 inches of snow at the time. So we are just ensuring that our crew and everyone else is safe to work in these conditions. And because we're foreseen to be on the extreme side, we just decided to not work those months.
Can you justify not doing any work at all when you're requesting us to push our date for completion back by 2 months?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Can you justify doing no work at all in that 5-month span when you're also simultaneously asking us to push our completion date back by 2 months? Does that make sense?
I think from the owner's perspective is how safe you want to be in the job site. It can be done with more money and more measurements if the weather were to be better. But we as a company think that given the climate that it's not safe to do so. So it would be a constraint for sure.
If you don't mind me adding as well, we like to get the project done and as fast as possible, but we fear that shortening that closure time, the quality would not be there, and we stand highly on our quality with our projects. So we don't want to take any chances on affecting that or just dropping in, I guess, the value and effort put forth. If we can allot that time, just push a little more to guarantee that it is as perfect as possible, then we want to take that chance and at least delay it by a little bit.
I'll also like to add, even if there is severe weathers, the cost of working through these weathers, that can bump up the cost, thus making the project more expensive. For example, you might need something like soil warmers if there's snow in the area. And ultimately, it's, we want a safe environment and something that's very cost efficient, and we thought this was the best alternative.
I would just like to add one thing. There's a saying here in the Windy City, there is only 2 seasons, winter or construction.
I have a question on your risk register. You're breaking down your risks and working to identify them. I know I heard a lot of conversations about our risks in congruent with the safety. What of your risks do you think would be safety focused?
You said which risks would
In
be?
your proposal, you have the categories as technical, but can you elaborate on that maybe a little bit?
I'm sorry, you said,
You can go
yeah, you want to?
to the risk slide. Okay, so for like a risk, you have your description, and you have your strategy. What type of category, like what's your biggest challenge with these risks? We're talking about safety a lot. Where does that fit in with these risks?
Well, yeah, so the way when we looked at each risk, we kind of looked at how it would impact the cost and how it would impact the schedule as well. And of course, safety is a big importance, but when selecting, because we selectively chose these 3 risks, and that was because it would have the most impact on either cost or the schedule. For example, something might, if there's a utility conflict, there might have to be a redesign. If there's a redesign, you never know, there could be additional cost, and this is where it goes into the contingencies. You know, we need these overhead costs just in case for the risk. Thus, also, if there's a redesign, thus it will push back the project more. So that's how we kind of went with the risk.
Follow-up question. Your contingency is at 4%. What got you to that conclusion?
Given our history working in the, I guess, state of Illinois in general for our projects, we've used that rate in the past and it's shown us no failure, so we just decided to keep it the same and hopefully see it through. I mean, we have a very high success rate using that value, so we just rather keep it consistent instead of changing things up and then having to adjust when in the past we know how things already operate according to our system.
I actually have a follow-up question similar to that. Looking at your proposal, it seemed like you carried a 2% overhead profit rate. So combined overhead profit contingency, you have either 6 or 7%. How can we as the owner have confidence that you will be able to endure any risks and not fall through and put the project in jeopardy?
Good question. We can put you in contact with past clients where we've had faced scenarios to do that. I'm sure they'll be happy to say how good of a job we did because we have that. Again, it is a small value, I will agree, but it's worked out for us. We've never had to go over budget or really adjust tremendously. It's really just worked out in our favor from past projects. And I can follow up with you and give you past client contacts.
Just adding on to that, I think also the way that we have laid out our schedule, already proposing an extended period to ensure that we do everything in a timely manner. It's a way for us to show that we're aiming to guarantee that everything is going to be done perfectly in a timely manner.
Did you do any value engineering? Consider any value engineering?
No value engineering was considered for this project proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.